If you grew up watching Hulk smashing everything in the Avengers movies, you might think you already know the potential of this green monster. But the truth is that the cinematic version is just the tip of the radioactive iceberg. The Hulk from the comics is one of the most absurd characters to ever exist. And the most curious part, his power has no ceiling. Literally, his rage grows, and his power grows with it. And then comes the inevitable question. If we threw the Hulk into the Dragon Ball universe, where would he fit in? Could he stand up to Goku? Would he be swallowed by Frieza? Or would he break the very fabric of Toriyama's reality? Before you go saying that Goku solves everything with a Kamehameha, it is important to understand what we are dealing with here. The Hulk is not just a strong guy who screams, he is a force of nature who has already rivaled cosmic entities, and who in certain arcs was considered a greater danger than the universe itself. And no, this is not fan exaggeration, let us take it slow. Bruce Banner started out as one of the greatest scientists on the planet. A genius with a doctorate about to change the history of humanity with a project to make the human body immune to gamma radiation. But that is where tragedy, as always, got in the way. During a test, he saved a teenager who had broken into the testing area and was exposed to an explosive dose of radiation. But instead of dying, Bruce changed, or rather, he unleashed something. The radiation activated a trauma hidden since childhood, the result of years of abuse from his own father. This caused personalities buried in his mind to take form, and one of them was rage, pure, childish, and destructive hatred, which now had a body 3 meters tall and over a ton of muscle. The Hulk. Hulk is a being with multiple incarnations. Unlike what many people think, the Hulk is not just an angry version of Bruce. He has several forms, each with different personality, intelligence, and motivations. And depending on which type of Hulk appears, the threat level changes radically. So, let us talk about the modes. The Grey Hulk is the most rational, but still very strong. The Savage Hulk is irrational and immensely destructive. The Worldbreaker Hulk is literally a walking apocalyptic event, and that is where the fun begins. In Dragon Ball, a character's threat depends heavily on two factors: power scalability, how far he goes, and what he can tank, and that is where the Hulk starts to get dangerous. Let us now look at the strength feats. Have you ever seen someone lift a mountain? The Hulk has already lifted an entire mountain range estimated at 150 billion tons. That alone would place him above practically any character from the Saiyan saga, like Raditz and Nappa in terms of physical destruction. But that is just the beginning. The Hulk has jumped all the way to space using only the strength of his legs. He has destroyed an asteroid twice the size of the Earth with a single punch. He has withstood the weight of a star, which would comfortably place him above the planetary level, entering what we would call Dragon Ball's stellar level, where few pre-Frieza characters could compete. In other words, if the Hulk entered the World Martial Arts Tournament from early Dragon Ball, he would destroy the arena with his first step. If he faced Mercenary Tao, Master Roshi, or Tien, the fight would last less than the blink of an eye, and those guys were already overpowered. But the real problem comes now. The Hulk's power has no limit. That is because the trigger for his power is rage. The more you hit him, the stronger he gets. Sounds like Broly, does it not? This breaks any traditional Dragon Ball power scaling logic, where there is a final form or a peak of power. With the Hulk, the ceiling keeps expanding as the fight heats up, and that is terrifying. Now that we understand the Hulk would steamroll through early Dragon Ball all the way to the Saiyan saga like a runaway tractor, the question is, when does the level truly start to climb? When Goku turns Super Saiyan for the first time defeating Frieza, we are talking about a colossal leap in power, with escalations that involve destroying planets with a snap of the fingers. Frieza, even in his final form and without knowing how to control 100% of his ki, was already capable of destroying Namek with ease, and that is the minimum standard for surviving at this point in the story. So, would the Hulk get crushed? This is where Worldbreaker Hulk enters the picture. This is one of the most feared versions of the character, not just because he became even stronger, but because he lost every emotional restraint. After losing his wife, his son, and his entire people in a tragedy caused by the heroes of Earth, the Hulk became a walking emotional bomb. Just his presence in this state caused earthquakes that cracked continents, and his punches were capable of destabilizing the crust of an entire planet. Now think about it. Frieza destroyed a planet with a single energy attack. The Hulk in this state made planets collapse just by walking on them. At the level of physical destruction, the Hulk already starts flirting with the Namek level. While Frieza needs to charge an energy ball, the Hulk is passive destruction 24 hours a day. But there is still one problem, and its name is speed. Dragon Ball is a series where speed becomes more absurd than anything else. Characters start moving faster than light during the Frieza saga, and possibly before that, actually well before that. But getting back to speed, it scales to ridiculous levels later on, with characters moving at scales irrelevant to distance and time, basically conscious teleportation. And the Hulk, well, as absurd as his reflexes are, and as much as he can react to hypersonic projectiles, he has never been consistently portrayed as someone with faster than light speed. His strength feats are gigantic, but he still moves like a tank, not like a lightning bolt. If he were to fight Frieza on equal terms, he would have to land a hit first, and that would already be difficult. For this reason, even with all his destructive power, it is fair to say that the Hulk would face serious difficulties against any character who combines strength and speed, like Goku in Super Saiyan. But what if he can take the first punch? Now comes the plot twist. If the Hulk manages to survive the first blows, and honestly he would, considering his healing factor and nearly limitless durability, the fight changes completely. Why? Because while Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza have an energy ceiling, at least until they change form, the Hulk keeps growing. Pain feeds him. The more he gets hit, the more dangerous he becomes. If the fight lasts too long, even Goku could be in trouble. After all, he gets tired and the Hulk does not stop growing, literally. Imagine the Hulk in the middle of the fight exploding with fury, his body increasing in size, the earth shaking, and the sky turning green. He becomes a natural event and no longer an opponent. The peak of Worldbreaker Hulk was so insane that he held 2 hemispheres of a planet with his hands, preventing the world from splitting in half. That already surpasses the Frieza level with ease. It approaches characters like Goku Super Saiyan 2 or even 3, who were already capable of shaking heaven and earth with their aura. Remember, the Hulk has no ki, he cannot fly, he does not fire blasts, but everything he does is brute, physical, and direct. And sometimes that brute force is more terrifying than a Kamehameha. What happens if we put the Hulk against characters like Jiren, Broly, and Moro? And more importantly, what happens when his power starts to affect the very fabric of reality? At this point, the Hulk would have already left behind not only Frieza and Cell, but possibly even Boo, depending on which version we are analyzing. And if we want to bring feats into this, the most destructive demonstration of Goku's power was when he and Beerus threatened the universe during a fight. Hulk and Red She-Hulk completely destroyed the Dark Dimension during their fight. But when Dragon Ball's scale shifts from physical destruction to threats to existence, the game changes completely. We have arrived in the territory of the gods of destruction, angels, and warriors capable of erasing universes with a flick, and this is where many characters from other universes simply break. But the Hulk not only stays relevant, he might become more dangerous than ever. In the Marvel universe, there is a structure called the Multiversal Tapestry. In simple terms, it is a fabric made of parallel realities, alternate dimensions, and spaces outside of time, and the Hulk has physically interacted with this structure. In one of his most surreal battles, the Hulk destroyed an entire dimension with a slap. In another, his fight against Nyx resulted in the complete annihilation of a universe. This is not a figure of speech, it was literally the end of existence. If you are familiar with Dragon Ball Super, you must have already noticed a similarity. Characters like Jiren, Broly, and Goku in Ultra Instinct already rival universal entities, and their fights affect dimensions and space-time. Well, the Hulk does that too. If you guys want, I can bring an exclusive video just about this battle. Imagine a fight between Hulk at his emotional peak, let us say Worldbreaker Hulk or Immortal Hulk, against Jiren from the Tournament of Power. Would you like a video just about that? Jiren is the type of character who transcends the logic of his own series. He was capable of resisting Ultra Instinct and causing damage to Goku in his most refined form. He is someone whose presence throws the gods off balance. But the Hulk does not just fight with his body, he fights with trauma, pain, rage, and despair. That is why this battle against Jiren is so good, because it is a matchup of very similar characters. The more the enemy resists, the more he grows, literally. If Jiren dominated the field with his ki attacks and interdimensional punches doing a speed blitz, the Hulk would simply come back stronger every round, even if at first he could not even resist. It would be a war of attrition, where the Hulk's weakness is being erased instantly, something Jiren has not shown the ability to do, like a Hakai for example. The Hulk on the other hand could end up collapsing the very combat space, as he has done in his comics. Another factor that is often ignored is that the Hulk is not just muscles. In certain versions he has intelligence comparable to cosmic beings. In Immortal Hulk for example, he is capable of manipulating abstract concepts like death itself. He has faced metaphysical entities like the One Below All, a kind of primordial demon that represents the inverse of creation, and when his power was measured by the Beyonder, one of the most absurd entities in Marvel, the result was simple. The Hulk has infinite physical strength. This is the moment where Dragon Ball starts to bend, because despite the divine aura, the multiplication of forms, and the infinite power increases, almost no Dragon Ball character has consistent universal destruction feats, much less multiversal. They are threats to the universe, yes, but within the narrative limits that always keep them within the bounds of a fight. The Hulk, he does not fight anymore. He basically just devastates, annihilates, absorbs energy, magic, and on top of that, adapts to any environment. Goku may be faster, may be more technical, but if you leave the Hulk standing for too long, the universe gives in before he does. The absolute peak of the Hulk might not even have a name. Some versions of him flirt with the concept of the rage of the One Above All, meaning the rage of the creator entity of the Marvel multiverse itself. It is as if the Hulk became the channeler of the wrath of God, and in that form, nothing matters. Power, technique, speed, there is nothing that survives. This level would be the equivalent in Dragon Ball to something above even Zen-Oh, the being that erases realities with a gesture. And as bizarre as it may seem, this comparison exists because at the end of the day, the Hulk became an idea, a living metaphor of pain that cannot be suppressed. Let us recap. The Hulk starts at the planetary level already with the advantage, surpassing warriors like Nappa, Raditz, and even Vegeta in his Saiyan Saga version with ease. In Worldbreaker mode, he already rivals Frieza on Namek, perhaps even surpassing Cell in terms of raw destruction. At the peak of his rage, his most elevated versions touch the level of gods, dealing with concepts like the destruction of dimensions, reality manipulation, and metaphysical resistance. But how far would he realistically get in a fight within the Dragon Ball universe? Being realistic, at the mountain and continent level, he would cause a total massacre. Any human character, warrior from early Dragon Ball or the classic era would be obliterated with a sneeze from the Hulk. Master Roshi, Mercenary Tao, King Piccolo would become statistics. At the planetary level, the Hulk still dominates. He has already demonstrated the strength to destroy planets and resist cosmic explosions with his healing factor. It would be difficult even for Frieza to defeat him in a prolonged fight. At the solar system level, with Cell and Majin Buu, the fight becomes more balanced. Cell is intelligent, strategic, and can regenerate. Buu is unpredictable and can disintegrate with a touch, but the Hulk can still win, especially if he enters Worldbreaker mode or has time to accumulate rage. It is a 50-50. At the multi-system universal level, like Goku, Jiren, and Broly, the Hulk starts to get into trouble. These characters fight with such speed and energy that entire universes are threatened quickly. Even with the Hulk having similar feats, he does not have near teleportation in terms of speed, or literal teleportation in Goku's case, nor ranged attacks. And his opponents fly, think fast, because they do not just react at that speed, they think at that speed to react and command the body. Goku does not even need to think because of Ultra Instinct. The Hulk has no ranged attacks, his opponents fly, think fast, and can destroy planets as if they were soap bubbles. So, if the fight is quick, he loses. If it is long, he has a chance. But speed and technique would be the biggest problems in this case. At the cosmic angelic level, with Beerus, Whis, Moro, Granola, these characters deal with time manipulation, instant erasure, soul disintegration, and much more. The Hulk would have difficulty defending against that. He has absurd feats in the comics, but the fighting format in Dragon Ball would put him at a disadvantage, because we are analyzing how far he would go in Dragon Ball. At the Zen-Oh and abstract entities level, these characters basically do not even fight, they basically decree. It is like trying to knock out a concept. The most the Hulk could do is collapse a universe, but Zen-Oh could delete an entire timeline with just a look. Perhaps he has infinite power. Anyway, at this point, I think there is nothing left to discuss.